All right, welcome everyone. Today we're taking a deep dive into, Kim Kardashian. We're going to get into, all the fascinating things you might not know.
It really is amazing how, everyone knows Kim Kardashian, but her story goes way beyond, just reality TV and all the glitz and glam. There's business, legal battles, even prison reform. It's this really interesting mix of pop culture with real world stuff,
Yeah, totally. Okay, let's start from the beginning. So she was born in 1980 in LA, and her childhood, that wasn't exactly normal, I guess you could say. Her dad, Robert Kardashian, was this, big-time lawyer. He was actually on O.J. Simpson's defense team during, that huge murder trial. Like, back in the 90s, everyone was glued to their TVs for that one.
Right. And that's where things get interesting. Imagine, growing up and you're surrounded by all this legal strategy, and it's such a high-profile case, too. It makes you wonder if, maybe that's where her interest in law and then later prison reform started. It's like foreshadowing almost, don't you think?
Maybe. And then, of course, we can't forget about her friendship with Paris Hilton, hanging out with her back in the early 2000s. Talk about a crash course in fame and all that media attention.
Yeah, but she wasn't just, watching from the sidelines. She was already working. Before all the reality TV stuff, she was building a career as a stylist. She even worked with Brandy. Remember that lawsuit Brandy's mom filed against the Kardashians? Something about credit card misuse. They ended up settling out of court, but, family drama right there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But what's really fascinating, I think, is how she handled all the publicity. In 2007, there was the whole sex tape release. And then almost right after, bam, Keeping Up with the Kardashians premieres. It was like this perfectly timed thing. Everyone was paying attention.
And that show, it wasn't just, popular. It was like this cultural phenomenon. 14 seasons, all the spinoffs too. It turned the whole family into this, media empire.
But Kim, she wasn't just satisfied with reality TV. She had, bigger ambitions. There were the Dash boutiques, then KKW Beauty, and the fragrances, and then, Skims. That was a game changer.
Skims is, it's worth over $4 billion now. That's crazy. I think she saw that there was a need for shapewear that was, for everyone and comfortable. She dominated that market. It's more than just celebrity branding. She's a really smart businesswoman.
Totally. What do you think, though? Was it just business smarts, or was it something more? Did her persona play a role too? The fact that she connects with people so well.
That's the big question, isn't it? I think it's probably both, honestly. She just gets what people want and knows how to give it to them. And let's not forget all the other stuff too. The mobile game, that photo book she did, even the Kimoji app. She's always, trying new things, not afraid to experiment.
And sometimes those experiments, they cause a stir. Remember the whole kimono thing back in 2019?
Oh yeah, when she tried to name her shapewear line Kimono. People were not happy about that. They saw it as cultural appropriation, like she was disrespecting this traditional Japanese clothing. Kimonos are, they're more than just clothes. They have this whole history and meaning behind them.
Yeah, the internet basically exploded. Articles everywhere. Everyone on social media was talking about it. Even the mayor of Kyoto sent her a letter. She ended up changing the name to Skims, which, looking back, was probably a good move.
It definitely was. It shows that even with good intentions, you have to be careful about cultural sensitivity. It's about understanding and respecting, those cultural symbols and what they mean.
For sure. Okay, let's talk about Kim's personal life now. 3 marriages, each one with its own media circus. First Damon Thomas, then that whole thing with Chris Humphries that lasted, 72 days? And then, of course, Kanye West.
It makes you think about what it must be like to be famous. Every relationship, every breakup, it's all over the news. That's got to be a lot of pressure.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole motherhood journey. 4 kids with Kanye West, and the younger 2 were born via surrogate. Kim's been pretty open about how she had some tough pregnancies, so surrogacy was, the safer choice.
And that's really important, I think, her talking about it so openly, whether it's surrogacy or any pregnancy complications. It helps to, break down those taboos and lets other people share their stories too.
Absolutely. But there's more to her than just the headlines and the relationships. People forget sometimes that she's really involved in activism too. She's been a big advocate for recognizing the Armenian genocide. She visited the memorial in Yerevan and even donated a ton of money to the Armenia Fund.
Right, and there's also her work on prison reform. She helped get clemency for Alice Marie Johnson, who was serving a life sentence for a first-time drug offense. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and remember her involvement with the First Step Act, that criminal justice reform bill? She worked with Van Jones and even met with Trump to get it passed. That's getting into some Pretty serious political stuff.
And then there's the fact that she's studying law, but she's doing it through this reading law apprenticeship thing instead of, going to law school. It definitely raised some eyebrows, but it also shows she's not afraid to do things her own way. What do you think that says about her?
I think it shows how determined she is. She really wants to learn and do things right. Speaking of tough experiences, I'm going to talk about that Paris robbery. Back in 2016, during Fashion Week, she was held at gunpoint and robbed of millions of dollars worth of jewelry. That must have been terrifying.
It was a huge story. It made people think about how vulnerable celebrities are. Like, what's the dark side of fame, and what about the risks of, sharing so much on social media? It was a wake-up call for a lot of people, I think.
And the aftermath was, well, kind of messy. Some people questioned if it really happened, while others felt really bad for her. It was a divisive situation.
And it had a lasting impact, too. She took a break from the spotlight for a while, and it definitely changed how she thinks about security and privacy. Which makes sense.
Eventually, they arrested 16 suspects in France. But the legal stuff is still going on. It just shows that even if you're rich and famous, bad things can still happen.
It makes you wonder, what's the real price of fame? What do celebrities have to give up?
Okay, so are we ready to go even deeper? Let's move on to the next part of Kim Kardashian's story. It's amazing, how she handles all these, challenges. Personal stuff, work stuff, even that robbery. But there's one thing I find really interesting. It's her deciding to study law. And she's doing it in this unusual way, right? That whole reading law apprenticeship instead of actual law school.
Yeah, a lot of people were surprised by that, weren't they? I mean, she's already got this huge career, but to me, it shows a couple things about her. First, she's not afraid to, try something new, something totally different. She wasn't happy just being a celebrity. She wanted to learn more, get new skills.
It's like she's always, reinventing herself, proving she's not just, a reality TV person.
Right. And second, I think it says a lot about her her commitment to social justice. I mean, think about all the work she's done with prison reform. She's been fighting for clemency, trying to change the system. So by studying law, she's basically getting the tools to, make an even bigger impact.
It makes you think, right? How learning can actually help you make a difference. But for people who don't really know about the legal system, can you explain what this reading law thing even is? How's it different from going to law school?
Sure. So basically, reading law is this old school way of learning law. You basically apprentice under an experienced lawyer or judge. Instead of going to classes, you learn by, working on real cases, doing research, watching what happens in court. It's a lot more hands-on.
So it's more like learning by doing,
Yeah.
You're actually in the thick of it.
Exactly. Now, it's not super common anymore, but in some states like California, you can still become a lawyer this way. And Kim's studying in California. It's not easy, though. It takes a lot of, dedication, and you got to be really passionate about the law.
It's pretty inspiring to see her doing this, especially with how busy she is with, everything else. It's never too late to learn and grow, right?
Definitely. And it challenges how we think about who can be a lawyer. It shows there are different ways to get there. You don't always need that traditional law school degree to make a difference.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk about Kim's, business smarts. We've already mentioned Skims, but she's built this whole empire. What do you think makes her such a successful entrepreneur?
Well, first of all, she's incredible at branding and marketing. She knows how to get people excited about her products, how to connect with her audience, and she's a pro at using social media to build a following. She creates this hype, and then she turns that hype into, actual results.
She's great at knowing what's trendy and creating things people want. But it's not just hype, right? Her products are actually good. Take Skims, for example. People love how, inclusive and comfortable it is. And the quality is there.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about, making a splash. It's got to be good stuff. And her products are well designed, well made. They fill a real need in the market. She's not just putting her name on something random. She's involved in the whole process, making sure everything meets her standards.
And that, that attention to detail, it shows. People trust her brand. They know what to expect. And that's why they keep coming back for more.
It really shows her how good she is at business. She's built this loyal customer base, and that loyalty, turns into sales and success.
It's crazy to see how she went from reality TV star to this total business mogul. And she's not afraid to, take risks, try different things.
And that's something I admire about her. She's not afraid to fail, she learns from her mistakes and just keeps going. It's pretty inspiring no matter what you're trying to achieve.
For sure. Now, before we wrap up, I want to go back to her activism for a bit. She's been really vocal about supporting the recognition of the Armenian genocide. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Of course. So Kim's been fighting for this for years. She talks about it publicly. She went to the Armenian Genocide Memorial in Yerevan, and she's given a lot of money to the Armenia Fund. It's something really personal for her because, her dad, Robert Kardashian, was Armenian.
Yeah, you can tell it's something she's really passionate about.
And it's important to remember the history here. The Armenian genocide was, well, it was awful. The Ottoman Empire systematically killed Armenians during World War I. It was this horrible tragedy. And for a long time, it wasn't really acknowledged or talked about much.
So Kim's trying to raise awareness about this historical injustice. She wants to make sure the victims are remembered.
Exactly. And her platform, her influence gives her a powerful voice. She's using her fame to shine a light on this cause that's so important to her. And that's pretty amazing.
It shows she's not just about, building her own brand. She's using what she has to make a positive impact.
Yeah.
And that's something we can all learn from.
For sure. It reminds us that we all have the power to do something. We can speak up against injustice, fight for what we believe in.
Well said. Okay, before you get to the last part, I want to touch on one more thing. How she handles being famous. All the attention, the scrutiny, it's got to be tough.
It's a fascinating part of her story, right? She's been in the spotlight for over 20 years now. Everything she does is analyzed and talked about online and in the media. It's a level of exposure that most people can't even fathom.
It's like living your life under a microscope. Every date, every decision, what you wear, it's all out there. How do you think she manages to stay sane, keep any privacy?
I think it shows how resilient she is and how adaptable. She's learned to kind of control her own narrative, She uses social media to share her side of things, connect with fans directly, and she's gotten better at choosing what to share and what to keep private, setting boundaries to protect herself and her family.
And she definitely isn't afraid to, call people out or address any drama head on. She's not just sitting back and taking it.
Nope. She's shaping how people see her. She's in control. It's a tricky balance, but she's doing it really well.
It's inspiring to see how much she's grown. From reality TV to a businesswoman, an activist, and now a law student. She's always breaking those stereotypes and expectations.
And she's doing it all while raising kids, running businesses, and fighting for social justice. It shows how hard she works, how determined she is, and how much she believes in herself.
Well, we've talked about a lot today, but there's still more to cover. Ready for the final chapter of our Kim Kardashian deep dive. Man, we've really gone deep, haven't we? Her whole story, from stylist to, everything she is now. Reality TV, the business, the activism, even law school. It's a lot.
Yeah, she's done so much, and in such a short time, too.
Totally. What do you think is the most interesting part of her story? Was there anything that, surprised you or maybe changed how you see her?
I think what gets me is how much she's always changing. She never just stays in one place, always pushing things further, reinventing herself, and she does it all with this, this crazy drive.
Yeah, she's not afraid of taking risks, trying new things, even if, people criticize her, that whole kimono thing. She messed up, but then she admitted it, learned from it.
Exactly. It shows that it's okay to, make mistakes as long as you're willing to grow from them. And that's a big deal coming from someone with her, level of fame.
It's pretty inspiring. I think you think about your own life, your own goals. What could you do if you, really pushed yourself?
Totally. Her story shows just how powerful hard work and determination can be, and being open to change. It shows that you can achieve things no matter who you are or, what you've been through.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave everyone with this. Think about how much she's changed things. Pop culture, the business world, social justice, even how we see fame in this digital age. She's definitely left her mark.
And what will her legacy be? Will people remember her as, the reality star, the businesswoman, the activist, or maybe all of those? I guess only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, she's a fascinating person, and her story isn't over yet.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to end on. We've covered so much, the good, the bad, the drama, her businesses, her personal struggles. And I think we have a better understanding of, who she really is, beyond just the headlines.
It's been a really interesting deep dive. And I hope it made you think about, fame and influence, and how we all have the potential to make a difference.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep asking questions.